Hello and welcome to the Green Profit Academy Pros podcast. This show digs into the challenges in growing a lawn care and landscape business while maximizing your profit. I'm Christeen Era.
And I'm Steve Bousquet. We are the green industry experts in profit, growth, and leadership.
Today we're diving into a critical decision many of you face as your company grows. Should you hire an internal bookkeeper or outsource this function? It's a choice that can significantly impact your financial health of your business and its operations. So I want to spend some time and unpack this and help you make the most informed decision for your business and find what is right for you. So first, let's understand the difference. So we want to clarify what I mean by internal and external bookkeepers. An internal bookkeeper is someone who joins your team. Maybe it's a full-time or part-time person, and they're taking care of your financial records from within your organization. So they're in your office, or maybe they're working remotely, depending on how your business is set up, and they are managing your books for you as an employee. On the flip side, an external bookkeeper is a professional from an accounting firm or a contractor who handles your finances, but isn't on your payroll. So they could be working remotely or even coming into your office depending on your agreement, and they are hired under a contract basis. So you have some sort of agreement in place and you have outlined what services that they are providing you as a company to manage your books for you. So typically with a contractor, you can't set a schedule of when they're coming in to do your books. You also cannot manage the tasks that they do for you. So typically it's in a contract agreement where you say, hey, these are the types of things that we're going to do for you as an external contractor to get your books done for your office or your business. So the choice between the two is going to be dependent on several factors. And I think that these are important, to know and think about. So you want to look at the complexity of your transactions in your business. Do you have, some difficulty in your business to where it's like the transactions have some level of depth that you have to pay attention to? Are you doing progress billing out to your clients? Do you need your bookkeeper, to understand the costs that are coming into your business, how to connect them to the jobs, and how frequently you do your billing? Do you do that per rounds, to your customers, and you want to make sure that those are on time? And, also, do you have a lot of costs associated with them so you can do job costing on certain projects? You also want to consider the volume of the financial activity in your business. So do you have a high volume where it comes in, you have lots of transactions coming into your company, and it's a lot of touch points to where they need to make sure that those transactions are coded properly, they're associated, with certain jobs, that you're also maybe breaking up invoices from vendors that come in. So you're splitting these costs amongst certain projects. So that's could be another, factor. And also, how closely do you want to guard your financial data? Some business owners are very uncomfortable with some outsourced person handling their finances versus an internal person, that they can kind of watch over their shoulder, have closer conversations with, things like that. But both options here with an internal bookkeeper and an external bookkeeper has unique advantages and things that you want to consider. So I want to talk about also like when to hire an internal bookkeeper. And this is a typical challenge, to where a small business, they're not sure what they can afford. So they go and they say, well, I can't afford to hire somebody. So I'm just going to have somebody do my books versus having a professional do them. So you want to make sure that either way, whether you're hiring an internal bookkeeper or an external bookkeeper, that you hire the right person or you have the right person doing your books. A typical issue that we come across when we start talking with business owners about their bookkeeping is that they might have had, a family member do them or a close friend of the family that wasn't a professional bookkeeper, but maybe, worked as an office manager or admin support for somebody. So they're really doing the best job that they can. But what we typically find is there's a lot of cleanup associated with somebody who isn't qualified, doing your books for a business. So typically we find that it takes about 8 to 10 hours to clean up, more 8 to 10 times to clean up a bookkeeping job from somebody that doesn't have the experience versus somebody who, already knows what they're doing and has experience in this industry when it comes to bookkeeping and accounting. So out the gate, it's very typical, to go for small business owners to hire an internal bookkeeper. And, they want to bring somebody in house. They think this is, the solution, which it absolutely can be. So when this happens, they have somebody who comes into the office, is working a set schedule, and they say, hey, I'm going to do all the bookkeeping. And if you have that, you want to make sure, what does that mean? You want to make sure you have a job description for them. You want to make sure that you have the bookkeeping tasks outlined, and you want to make sure that they know everything that they're supposed to do when it comes to your bookkeeping. So there's no gray areas. And this will ensure that you have a professional in-house that is doing your books and is at least, buttoning up those books on a monthly basis, and they're on a set schedule. You might only need them 10 hours a week. You might, so maybe it's just part-time, or 20 hours a week, so just part-time, or you might be big enough as a business to have a full-time person in-house. Again, the one thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to look at bookkeeping as something that you can't afford. So when this happens, a company won't hire a bookkeeper, and then their bookkeeping doesn't get done, or again, they have that unqualified person because they think that they can't afford a professional. So if you're considering bringing somebody in-house, an internal bookkeeper might be the best bet if your business navigates through complex financial waters daily. So you have a high volume demand of transactions that need to be managed, or you're keen on keeping your financial data, under wraps, or, really right in front of you. And this could be for complexity or confidentiality reasons. Another factor could be integration. This could be very important. So something that you're considering, to where you really want that person who's handling the books, billing those customers, and looking at the financials for your business every month. You want them to be in the office. So someone who will work closely with other departments in your company and really gets the pulse of your business. So hiring an internal person could provide seamless integration that can fill those gaps for you, to where they're communicating and coordinating closely with your team and also with your customers, or even the people that service your customers. So whether they're in the field, or it's other office management people, or even people who handle customer calls. So there's someone right there to handle their questions. I want to take a minute just to talk about the pros and cons of having an internal bookkeeper. So some of the benefits means that you have direct control over your financial records. It could also give you quick access for urgent questions or inquiries from your other team members or your customers. And you can have a dedicated person who is truly focused on your business without the distraction of external clients, depending on their size. So if you hire an external bookkeeper versus an internal one, you might be sharing your time and your attention with some of the other clients that they're trying to service. So what this can do, again, it can foster that environment of trust and confidentiality, which can be absolutely invaluable for your business model or where your business is at, in its growth stage. Now, I also want to talk about the cons. I've been working in this industry for a really long time, to where we have coordinated with external bookkeepers and accountants as well as internal ones. We have helped train and bring up internal bookkeepers, and we have a lot of experience with internal bookkeepers working with our clients over the years. So some of the cons that might come up, is it may not all be smooth sailing, though you have somebody in-house, they can coordinate with people. You have to consider the costs, because the costs can add up. So, you can look at salaries and benefits, and the resources that you need with recruitment and training to have an external bookkeeper. So you want to make sure that your business is big enough and you have enough revenue that can cover that internal cost of hiring a bookkeeper as an employee. There's also risk of fraud and the responsibility of managing other employees, which can be daunting for some people. It could be like, oh, that's just one more thing that I have to manage or have to oversee. So we've had experiences to where they had an internal bookkeeper. They pretty much had the keys to the kingdom, got very comfortable, and we found, unfortunately, that fraud was occurring in a business because that person, they're buying things on the company card that they shouldn't have purchased. I have heard of even people cutting themselves extra paychecks that the owners didn't know about. So you always want to make sure that there's a segregation in place if you have an internal person on your payroll that's managing all your bookkeeping. And what that means is you don't want this person doing everything. So, if they do deposits into the company of the income, you don't want them to have full control of paying bills. So you want an approval process of bill pay. You also want an approval process of payroll as well, to where, two people are looking at it and say, yes, this is right. And you typically don't want somebody reconciling the accounts that is receiving all the income in your business and paying all the bills. So you want somebody else kind of checking through the transactions that are happening in your business to make sure those checks and balances are in place. And again, this is where, we want to make sure that segregation and the mitigation of fraud is handled in a business. So another thing that we can talk about is when to hire an external bookkeeper. So maybe an internal bookkeeper isn't quite right for you yet. Maybe your business isn't big enough, or you just don't have the time to manage somebody at that level, or there's other factors that you might be considering. So let's talk about when to hire that external bookkeeper in your business. What does that look like? So what if you're running a lean operation, right? Or if fluctuating volumes happen in your business to where you go, yes, we're busy here, but we're not busy there, and it just doesn't make sense. Hiring an external bookkeeper might make more sense to you because it allows that cost effectiveness to come into play to where you don't have to spend a full year's salary. You can spend a portion of it and utilize a professional to get your books done as you need them done, through the busy season and then even when things are slow. It also offers flexibility. So what that means is it gives you access to a wide range of experts without having to make that commitment of a full-time hire. So, if you work with a professional accounting firm or bookkeeping company, they might have several people on their staff that can answer different questions for you. So you don't have to know everything and you don't have to be a financial wizard. So they can bring their expertise to the table versus just having one person, to ask questions to in your company. So that can definitely, be a decision making to where you go, well, I don't want to spend as much money and I would like some flexibility and to have that wider range of skill sets, to lean into.
Core Growth Strategies provides business growth management solutions through cloud accounting, bookkeeping, and strategic business consulting programs. Our team works with small businesses in lawn care and landscape and trade industries throughout the U.S. We increase our clients' business acumen by creating business performance transparency through financials and strategic advisement based on industry best practices and benchmarks. Our experienced team provides support, guidance, and coaching, thereby allowing our clients to connect with viable data and discover their own solutions. Core Growth Strategies programs and services are designed to get your business from where it is now to where you have always dreamed it to be. Visit us today at coregrowthstrategies.com and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Don't miss our exclusive limited time podcast special. Just mention promo code GPA Pro to any member of our team during your complimentary consultation or enter the promo code on our site when you sign up for one of our online programs. That's promo code GPA Pro.
The other thing that I have found is in working with a bookkeeping or an accounting company, having an external bookkeeper is they have the opportunity to leverage better technology. They have that diverse experience, and they'll also have a higher level of professional knowledge because they haven't just worked with your company. They've worked with several companies and they know challenges, they know best practices, and they should be able to share those with you and guide you, through some of the challenges or pain points or even questions that are coming up in running your business or how you're setting things up. So, the outsourcing the bookkeeping, it grants the business access to that diverse team of expertise that might have, most likely has the latest financial knowledge, and they can cover things from advisement on, how to file sales tax, if you need to file sales tax, all the way down to some financial forecasting for you, helping you set up budgets, knowing how to spend, or even implementing some advanced methods in your business that can help you gain more profit and also, be able to understand your financials versus where you're at right now. I have found too that external bookkeepers, so contract bookkeepers, they are very into updating their skills and knowledge. And this comes from creating tailored solutions for other clients that might be looking for things to also, they're just having to renew their certifications every year and get continued education credit. So it's a requirement when you're an external bookkeeper or accountant to make sure that you stay up on those licensing. So they might, you might have an advantage there because they are learners and they do have to stay up on their professional skill sets. Another opportunity with bringing an external bookkeeper in is it offers that partnership which enhances financial operations, which can also ensure, compliance and supporting long-term growth and stability in your company. I know at Core Growth Strategies, one of the things that we do is we show up with our clients as partners. We do advise on best practices. If we see something, we say something and say, hey, we noticed this. Here's some room for improvement. What do you think? And we're very much into supporting our clients' long-term growth, profitability, stability, scalability, like all those things. So we just don't do bookkeeping. There's a lot more that we bring to the table. And we have a very diverse team. We have, team members who have been focused on, cost accounting all the way to international CFOs to where they have this different skill set that they bring to the table. And it's really nice because we lean into each other when we have questions and we identify a problem or challenge. We have a diverse team that we can go to support our clients and answer some additional questions for them and bring some good solutions to the table. So what are the pros and cons of outsourcing your bookkeeping? Because there are some of those as well. So some of the pros is, of course, outsourcing can offer a savings. You get that professional expertise that we are talking about and the freedom to focus on your core business. So you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to manage it. You should just be receiving your financials, even possibly a financial video unpacking how your company is performing, or even setting up a monthly or quarterly meeting with your bookkeeper or accountant to talk about your financials. It's also scalable. And what this means is it reduces the management load in the company. So somebody isn't having to manage that team member. It's typically the other way around where you will get more support from an external bookkeeper to give you kind of that diverse skill set on strategies and best practices. And it also comes with some security protocols. And I had shared this, before in prior podcasts to where we invest in, our security and, when working with clients. So we have, work with a professional IT company to make sure data is protected. And we also advise on creating that segregation in your business with the people who support you internally. So it's not everybody has access to payroll records and things like that, or even the company financials. And there are some downsides to this as well, right? So, and we have come across this before in working with our clients to where they've worked with a prior bookkeeper or an accountant and didn't have the best experience, which is typically why they end up looking for somebody else. So they're not, working with somebody who fully serves their needs as a professional external bookkeeper or accountant. So they may not be having the conversations that you as a business owner wish to have with more detail. You might also, run into a lack of responsiveness. And I have learned that not all bookkeepers or accountants are the same. So some of us are far more communicative than others. And we make sure, and at least from Core's side, we make sure that we are communicating with our clients and we are understanding what are your needs, how can we help you, and we also outline the timeline on responses with our clients. So you may find that you reach out to your bookkeeper or accountant and they're not getting back to you in the time that you need, or you might have even experienced in working with an external contracted bookkeeper or accountant that they say they're going to do things that they don't do. So you always want to make sure that you have an outline of services that you both have agreed on that the accountant or bookkeeper is going to provide to you as a business owner, and with a timeline attached. So make sure if they say, hey, we're going to have your your accounts reconciled and your books closed, and everything buttoned up by the 10th of the month, that you can expect that by the 10th of the month. And you also want to know, well, what does your services include? Are you going to be handling my accounts payable and my accounts receivable? Because some bookkeepers don't do that. Are you going to be addressing, my bank transactions and making sure that they are allocated properly? Are you going to be reconciling your accounts every month? Are you going to send me a financial report? And does that financial report include some sort of video explaining what those financial reports mean? So you really want some clarity on what, just like we went over with the internal bookkeeper, right? You want them to have a job description. It's the same thing with an external bookkeeper. You want them to outline the services that they are going to provide you and what that means. So that way, neither side is disappointed and you know what to expect and what to ask for from the person supporting your financial needs of your business. Some of the other problems that we've heard of is, conflict with time zones. If you hire somebody, there might be a 2 or a 3 hour difference. So you want to make sure that who you hire as an external bookkeeper aligns with your services. Is it going to be a problem, for you to have a call, at 5 o'clock, depending on their time zone? Maybe you're on the West Coast and you want a 5 o'clock call, which means that it's a 7 o'clock call for them if they're in a different time zone. So you want to make sure that the time zone and the services align. And you also want to make sure that the quality of service that you're getting meets your expectations and needs, because services that external bookkeepers provide can vary greatly. So depending on who you're working with, you can have somebody who's very invested. They, check all the boxes, dot all the I's, cross all the T's, and they're extremely communicative, versus the other side where it's 3 months later and you're still waiting, for your books to be closed and to get some sort of information or even a response from your email from 3 months ago. So you really want to outline, what do I want? Am I working with the right person? Are they servicing me the way that I need? And if not, then, it's time to make sure that you find somebody that does service you at the level of your expectations. So really, when you're deciding between an external and an internal bookkeeper, it's going to come down to evaluating your business's specific needs. You're going to want to look at the level of control that you desire when it comes to your financial, transparency in your business, and even reviewing and getting information that you might need when it comes to payments and other things. You also want to consider your financial capacity because, we can't always have it all. We may not be at a point right now where we can afford to hire an internal bookkeeper. So we need to find an external bookkeeper that checks most of the boxes, knowing that we'll get there one day. So, both of these options have their plus points and their negative points, and you really want to make sure that you make the right choice for your business. And this comes down to financial needs. It comes down to, your goals around your growth. It comes down to your profitability and what you can afford. And it also comes down to your unique business and your situation, to where do you have some complexity? Who's the right person to handle that complexity? It could be an internal bookkeeper or it could be an external bookkeeper. So you want to make sure that you're addressing and looking at your business operations, your goals around your future growth, and the level of involvement or maybe even lack of involvement that you want in your bookkeeping process, and how it's going to serve you. So I definitely consider this as a decision that deserves careful consideration, and we're going to support you in that decision. And I invite you to go ahead and look at the show notes. You're going to find 2 extremely valuable links that can better support you in making this decision. And one is a checklist that I'm going to provide you that talks about when to hire an external versus external bookkeeper. And another one, which is my favorite, is the right accountant and bookkeeper checklist. So who is the right accountant and bookkeeper for you? And I think this comes down to personality types, business models. Some people really like to talk about their financials and are interested in increasing their business acumen and needs a highly communicative accountant or bookkeeper who are going to share special insights, share best practices, talk about what they see that is right and wrong, and what you can do about it. And some people, they just want to report. They just want to know, like, hey, this is done. I'm good. I don't need any extra information. So this checklist, the right accountant or bookkeeper, is going to give you that insight and help you understand, what do I really need and want when it comes to working with a professional. So I hope that this podcast was insightful today, and I thank you for tuning in. And we look forward to seeing you on our next podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Green Profit Academy Pros Podcast,
the show that digs into the challenges of growing a lawn care and landscape business while maximizing your profit.